Hello, my name is Paul Cutler and I am the Head of Master Planning and Design here at Urban&Civic. And what that role entails is a variety, it's quite a wide scope, which is great for myself. But the main attribute that I provide is reviewing a whole bunch of design consultants and their work, and reviewing to make sure it meets our standards. And also it enables us to set a benchmark for what actually gets built out in the real world. It also involves discussions with house builders, contractors and various other entities that actually get things built, not just designed. The image behind me is actually a master plan for a very large site. So that site is a rugby and it consists of roughly about 6,000 homes. There are a number of primary schools, one large secondary school, there's some commercial in there, there's also some leisure facilities, some shops and some cafes and things like that. In essence, you're making a town. With the role that I do there's an element of community design as well. So you're looking at buildings that form little hubs for the people and communities that live there. Another example of that would be some shops or a cafe. We actually commission architects and various designers like mechanical designers and structural designers to come along to contribute to make unique bespoke buildings that serve a particular purpose but feel like they fit in nicely with the context of the houses. In addition to that, you've got landscaping design as well, and I do think that is the glue that sort of sticks this jigsaw piece together. And using the image behind, you can see where there are clusters of housing and buildings which all look white squares and blobs, and you can see the sort of dark green elements that either big blocks of dark green or they're little strips. You can see some crescent strips running through. They're all pieces of landscaping that sort of allow us to gel things together around the site. So the key skills for my role that I use very much every day is design, sketching, understanding buildings, understanding the spaces that buildings create, understanding things that don't require buildings, require landscape. So that's landscape design as well. The ability to work on small scale, so individual buildings, even down to individual rooms or different aspects of a room. The layout of a kitchen, for example, that's a portion of a room, it's not the whole room, it's a very important part of the room. And when you're looking at a large scale 6,000 home scheme like behind me, how individual components, individual houses, individual buildings, how they stitch together to make a community. A key skill set is to communicate verbally and also electronically, whether it's through letters or emails and things like that. It's a very important skill set. Decision making is also quite important. So you've got to have an element of confidence in what you do in order to steer consultants or to make a decision. So in terms of salary, when starting off as an architect, you're probably looking about 30 to 40,000. And obviously it's a very regional thing. London will pay you more. It will be a general progression through there. You start off learning the basics and then you can work your way up to even be a partner of a firm. If you're a partner of a firm, that all depends on how successful you are as a practice. You can earn a lot of money doing that. For what I do now, and looking at the company I was before and other companies and what friends are doing and other work colleagues and that, you're looking at anything from 80,000 probably to 120,000 within that range. And that also depends on the size of the company and their portfolio and their profits and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite a big range. I think as an architect, you earn a little bit less than working for a building developer. And that's purely because there is more profit involved and more money involved with development rather than architecture. So that's something to factor in. So with regards to work experience, I mean there is two routes. The university route, and then you have the breaks between undergrad and postgrad where you need to get work experience. Yes, that forms part of your structure in order to get your license as an architect, and that you can do through most architectural firms, but they need to have a job there for you in order to do that. It's not a given. And also just work experience, even if it's dropping in for a couple of weeks, that's quite important, because what I found quite a shift between studying architecture and actually doing architecture in the real world was that there's a lot more fun with the design and you can be far more creative. But when you go to an actual practice, when you actually have to get these things built, you have to do things like details. You have to understand how bits and components of buildings are put together, and you have to draw that. You have to detail that and you have to design that. You have to be aware of all the codes and all the aspects of what goes together and stitches this thing together. So I think going to the coalface and actually experiencing a company, actually experiencing how an architect works in the profession is a really good thing to do. And if I was to do it again, I would actually do that before understanding what the job actually is. When you start off, there's very little, but as you get more experience and you get more trust from the firm and you get more working up the steps, and this applies to any career, you start to get the big picture stuff rather than the nitty-gritty details. In summary, I love the variety, I love the creativity, I love working with consultants, and I love working with the folks here at Urban&Civic, a good bunch of folks, so that's what keeps me going every day. The advice is to follow your heart. Yes, be sensible, but follow your heart.